This is a 4-year-old paint gelding. His name is Newly. We've had him here for 2 months. He came to us, he was already green broke, and his owner just wanted a little bit of a better handle on him and just to get him a little bit more broke, kind of finished out. So we'll probably keep him for several more months. My husband is gonna start using him for a heading horse, so we'll see how he does with that. But I'll just show you some things that we've been working on with him. He's pretty big, he's about 16 hands, and so he was started late and he didn't really know how to move his body around very well when he came here. So we've just been teaching him how to move his body. It's more difficult when the horses are this big to get them to be light in their front end. He's pretty light in his front end now. Do a little bit of crossing over here. When I first get on him, I just like to do some little warm-ups, just kind of check him out, see how he's feeling today. Little stop and back up. He has a hard time being straight throughout his body. Like right now, he's wanting to curve to the left. His rear end's trying to go to the left a little. So I'm just gonna stop backing him up, move his rear end to the right, continue backing him up. There we go. Might trot him out. We've been doing neck reining. He's picked up on it pretty quick, but when I first get on him, I start out two-handed. I ride him with a pretty loose rein. If I ask him to collect, he will. He's actually pretty nice about it. He looks pretty good when he's all collected. And then if I want him to slow down his trot, he'll do that too. Give me a nice little too fast for Western pleasure, but nice little jog here. There we go. Get him to slow down a lot. This horse has a lot of potential. He can go in a lot of different directions. He can move a lot quicker than you might think he could with his big old body. Just get him trotting a little bit of a slow circle. Might move his shoulders out. Like that. Move his shoulders in. Move his shoulders out to the right. Move his shoulders in. Go in a straight line. Straight lines are really hard for this boy. Like right there, whenever we stop, he kicks his little hind end out to the left. We just fix it, not make a big deal about it. Go ahead and keep backing up. He's still a little bit slow on the back up. Gets a little bit upset. He went crooked, but I was focusing on trying to get him to pick up his front feet and step back. Keep his back rounded. He wants to hollow his back a little bit and drag his front feet back instead of picking them up and stepping back. Oh, try it again. There, that time he didn't kick his rear end out. There. Might get him in a little bit of a hurry. He's pretty fresh, so I'm gonna go ahead and lope him. Knock the edge off a little bit. He's been a really fun horse to work with. He is very smart and he's really light. He gets really upset if you get onto him too much, but at the same time, he needs to learn to not get upset about that. I want my horses to be light, but I still want them to be okay mentally if I have to get after them a little bit to do anything. So if he's traveling the way that I want him to, I'll put my hands down and let him have a loose rein. And if I need to fix him at all, I'll pick my hands up, maybe use some leg, push him with my legs, drive him into that bit. When I feel him get soft to the point where I want him, put my hands down, let him have his head. He'd kind of fallen into the circle there, so I'm just gonna pick him up, move him out. He didn't like that, but he needs to be okay with, you know, getting thumped on a little bit. I'm not gonna be the only one that rides these horses, so I don't need to train them to ride how I would like them to ride per se. I need to train them so anybody can ride them. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. He stopped on his front end. That was a much better backup. That was a lot better. I'll do a little turnaround. He's aggravated with that bit, so I'm just gonna hold him here. There we go, that was much better. If they ever show any kind of, as long as I'm being fair to them, meaning I'm not asking them to do something they don't know how to do and expecting them to do it perfectly. But if I pick up on their heads, they should get really soft. And if they try to push through it or brace against me, then I'll hold them here and I'll use my legs, not my spurs, but my legs, and bump them through until they're soft in that bit, until their body's rounded. Two, three, 1, 2, 3, whoa. That was really on the front end. That wasn't very good. Get right back into a lope. I don't mind asking him to stop a little bit more on this ground. He does have shoes on, so he's not gonna have as much friction catching his feet. I've seen him do it in the pasture, so I know he can do it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was better. He tried to kick out to the left a little bit, his hindquarter, so we're just gonna fix him. Back him up straight. One thing that even I have trouble with also is I always want to look down at my horse when I'm riding him. And I know you're not supposed to. And I know you're supposed to keep your eyes where you want to go. And that actually helps a lot when you're teaching him how to neck rein. If you're looking where you want to go, then your body is going to turn that way too. And they feel the smallest shift in your body weight. And they'll feel the way that you're looking. And I've heard it called riding to your eyes. And it's a really good habit to get into. I'm just not in that habit, and I really need to get into it. But anyways, even when you're loping them and stuff, I've heard some guys say, why are you looking at your horse's head? It's not gonna fall off, which is so true. But anyways, if you're looking down and your upper body, eventually all of your upper body is gonna be kind of going down like this. And ideally, you want your horse's shoulders to be elevated, to be up, and to move really freely, for your horse to be able to move well. And so if you're looking down at your horse all the time, you're actually, believe it or not, putting weight on those shoulders. So if you want your horse's shoulders to be up and elevated, then your shoulders have to mirror what you want your horses to be doing. I was telling a friend of mine the other day that when you're training horses, sometimes you get into some really weird positions because you have to exaggerate everything that you want these horses to do. And so for instance, let's say that, I gotta fix him really quick, he wants to, and a lot of it too, if they're not stopping straight, check your own body and make sure that your body is square. And a good way to do that is to pick a spot out in the distance about eye level with you and look at that when you're stopping. And that'll help you keep yourself square. There we go. But anyway, so you get into some weird positions. Like for instance, if I want to move his shoulders over, I'm gonna put my foot all the way up here on his shoulder if I'm teaching him. And tap, tap, tap. He's not moving it, so we're gonna have to get after him a little bit more. There. He moved his shoulder around. Say I wanna move his hindquarters now. If I'm teaching him, I'm gonna put my foot all the way back here. I'm not using my spur, I'm using the side of my foot and I'm just tapping him. Okay, and then as your horse gets more broke, your cues will get more subtle. So now I can lay my rein against the horse's neck, use my foot right here, and he'll move his shoulders over. Or use my foot right here, and he'll move his hindquarters over. So the idea is to not always ride your horse like it's a young horse. You've got to progress them in their training. And the more that you think of how you can help them progress, the quicker they'll actually progress. They're quick learners. They're not dumb horses, and I mean sometimes they are dumb horses, but they're very sensitive to the things that you do on their back, and they can feel a fly land on them, so you know they can feel your legs, and they can feel when you squeeze your fingers and pick up on that bit. I mean, the slightest touch is what you want them to respond to. And at the same time as that, you want them to be okay if you have to get onto them a little bit too. I don't want him to throw his head around like that. There. So when he's throwing his head around like that, when I'm kind of asking him to move a little bit faster, he just doesn't want to. He's just, he's big. It takes a lot of effort for him to move fast. And if he can move slow, he'd probably rather like to do that. Stop him and we'll kind of wind him up here. I'm wanting him to back in a circle with his nose tucked. And I'm just gonna hold him until he gets soft. I want his front end to come around and him to pop out of it. There. That's what I was looking for. So I was just holding him until he released himself. But you've got to be careful, because as soon as they do what you want, you've got to release them all the way and not just, 50%. So when you're riding your horse, and when your horse is doing what you want, put your hands down and just let that horse have its head. Like this. I mean, you can even let your reins drape this much. This horse is turning right now. I'm not pulling on his mouth at all. I'm using some leg, and he won't do this all the time. He's still, we've only had him 2 months, but he knows what that rein on his neck means. And it's not way out here. See how his nose goes that way? That's not what we want to do. We want that horse's nose turning the direction that horse is turning. It's called following their nose. And you just teach them that. Put the rein on their neck, pick this hand up, go the other way. Don't be afraid to move your hands around on the reins. They're not glued to one spot, and lots of times you'll need to move them around into funky positions. One thing I've been working on this horse, just for the fun of it, I'm not, I'm still learning how to teach my horses to do this, but I think it's fun to teach all of them to cross over in the front, and one of these days I'm hoping that I get to keep one long enough that I teach it how to spin really nicely. He's a lot better to the left than he is to the right. We'll see how he is. And every horse is a little bit different in what you need to do to teach them. I'm going to wait till I to me it feels like he was stepping over better towards the end of that. And it's important for me to know where my horse's feet are, because that's what I'm steering. I'm directing his footfall when I'm riding him. Like, I want to know where his left foot is. It's just touching down, just touching down, just touching down. And just riding around at a walk and mentally telling yourself where your horse's feet are and feeling them. Like his back foot just hit the ground, just hit the ground. His back right, his back right. And then when you're going into a trot, knowing which legs are forward and which legs are back. And yeah, when you're learning, you can totally cheat and with your eyes just look down. Try not to move your head down. And then you'll be able to feel when they're gonna get in the right lead or when they're gonna get in the wrong lead. Most of the time before a horse starts loping, I can feel if they're going to get in the correct lead or if they're gonna get in the wrong lead. And you can stop them and start them again, or trot them in a circle. Slow them down to a trot here. Another cool thing that this horse can do that we're working on is when you're walking, just move his hips and keep the forward motion going. When you're walking, move his hips. And that right there really helps your lead departures, because your horse takes the lead from behind, not from the front, if they're going to do it correctly. Take the horse's shoulders over. Take the horse's shoulders the other way. Walk in a straight line, move his hindquarters over. It's all just figuring out how to teach your horse to move its body. And once your horse can move its body as individual parts, you can progress from there and teach it all kinds of things. But usually I don't get past this part on a horse before I send it home. So getting to keep him a little bit longer is fun, and I've been getting some help on where to go from here with him. And like I said, my husband's gonna rope off of him, so you know, he'll do what he needs to do to get him good for that. But I've had fun with him. He's been really fun and easy. So that's Newly.